Just most recently, we heard from one of our clients that the indoor humidity in her place is over 60%, and she's wondering why that is, because outside it's 40% relative humidity. So she thinks there's a problem with the AC. But I'm going to tell you she's not right. Here's why.
No sales gimmicks, no confusion, just expert advice to help you stay comfortable and save money. And now, the Information for Customer Success Show.
All right, so humidity is a big issue, both too much humidity in the summertime, too little in the wintertime. We're only going to concentrate on the summertime issue of humidity. Let's leave the wintertime humidity for another show because that's got its own nuances. By far, the most misunderstood issue that we deal with every customer is humidity and the concept of what's called relative humidity. And let's just explain relative humidity and how it relates to this whole conversation, because once you understand relative humidity, I think you can grasp the concept of what those numbers, percentage numbers, really mean for everybody. So you know humidity is given this percentage, but then behind the percentage you always see that little RH, right? What is that RH? It's called relative humidity. It's the percentage that compares the amount of water vapor currently in that air to the maximum amount that air could hold at that same temperature. So when you hear 75% humidity at that temperature, that means at that temperature, there's another 25% that air could hold before it starts raining. That's essentially what it means. Let's look at this graphic right here. Here we have, what we're calling a tank, but think of it as the tank is the air. It's the temperature. So call it 100 degrees, we have a bigger tank. And if we have 50% relative humidity, that means that 50% of that tank is filled up with moisture, right? Now, we're going to shrink the tank. We're going to make it colder. So now we have 60 degrees and the tank is smaller. But the actual percentage of the humidity is now 83%. So would you say that is more humidity? It's not. It's the same amount. If we look at that blue block, it is the same amount of moisture, of humidity in the air. It's relative to the temperature now. That relative number changes. So relative humidity has to be put in the same space as what is that temperature? What temperature are we talking about? Because relative humidity out of thin air means absolutely nothing to me. So here's an example. At 70 degrees and 55% relative humidity, it is the same exact humidity as at 65 degrees and about 66% humidity, right? So you hear the keywords of anything above 55% inside your house is bad. Again, what's the temperature? Because 66% relative humidity sounds very, very scary, right? But then you equate it back to, at 70 degrees, that's 55% relative humidity. It doesn't sound as scary. However, we're talking about the same exact humidity levels. Let's talk about what is the range of temperature and humidity that we really want to focus on, because there is a comfort range. Granted, everybody's got their own preference, but most people between 70 to 76 degrees inside temperature, for the summertime at least, is where they're comfortable. And the actual ideal humidity range is going to be somewhere between 40 and 60%. Lower is not good either. Above 60%, obviously, there's problems. So you want to be between 40 and 60%. All right, where does the humidity come from? We're getting humidity. Why is there high humidity in the house? Now, there's lots of reasons for this. This answer will vary depending on your house. Now, you have a tight house, you're going to have more humidity generating from the inside of your house than outside. And if your house, of course, is like Swiss cheese, then the outdoor humidity will greatly affect the indoors. So the average home, now, average is a certain range. Average probably means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but let's establish the fact there is such a thing as an average home. The average home, only 15% of the humidity inside your house is really caused by outside air, the infiltration. 30% is going to be caused by showers and baths, every time you take a shower and a bath. 20% from cooking and dishwashing, right? Any place you have a sink, you've got water. Anywhere there's water, there's going to be humidity. That water eventually evaporates. Another 20% from just us being alive, breathing and sweating. And of course, those houses with the basements and crawl spaces, that is a good source of humidity as well if there's problematic areas. So that's another 15%. Now, things like indoor plants too. So average home doesn't have that many plants. It's going to be 5%. But I've had customers that I believe they were running a flower shop out of their house and they were wondering why their humidity is so high. Absolutely. If you're going to have rooms full of plants and flowers, that will greatly affect how much humidity you are feeling inside the house. Great, Chris, I understand humidity, but I understand it's a problem. How do I take care of it? Well, let's talk about building science for a second. Warm air holds more moisture and moves to cold air and drier areas. So wet always moves to dry, hot always moves to cold. Right? So understanding that will make you understand a lot about how your house works and the dynamics of the house and leaks and pressure imbalances and things of that sort. So first and foremost, control the sources first. There's things like, of course, showers. We can control that very easily. you should have an exhaust fan. And if there's an exhaust fan, you should be running it. You should be running it minutes and minutes after the shower, right? There's cooking. We have things called kitchen exhaust hoods. You should be using them. I can't tell you the amount of times I see customers cooking and they don't turn on the hood because it makes noise. Now, I get it, you don't want to hear the noise, but it does serve a purpose besides just getting the smoke and the smells out. It does remove the humidity as well. So control the sources. Fix whatever problem you have going on, perhaps in the basement or the crawl space. Otherwise, you're going to have this continual battle. But let's just say you fix all that, there's still going to be obviously humidity in the house. So what takes care of the humidity? I know everyone's heard a lot about the dehumidification abilities of different air conditioning systems and how important it is to size your air conditioning system so it's able to dehumidify well. That's absolutely true. Yes, your AC is a dehumidifier. When air passes over the cold evaporator coil, water condenses, drains, goes out of your building or somewhere into your plumbing. But that only happens while the system runs long enough for the coil to get cold and stay cold. So what happens when your AC doesn't run? Well, nothing. It does not dehumidify, so your AC has to run. What makes it run? What makes it not run? Definitely an oversized air conditioning system will give you very short run time. So the AC will turn on, drop temperature really fast. It doesn't run long enough to remove humidity. That's great. That's fine. That's why we take such careful measures in terms of figuring out what is that load count so the AC is sized properly and you get a good air conditioning system that can remove humidity. However, it's not full-blown summer all the time. It's not 90, 88 degrees all the time. When we have those temperatures, that's wonderful because we have a heat load. That means the AC can run, it can dehumidify. But what happens when it's 78, it's raining outside, and the humidity is really high inside? Well, your air conditioning system doesn't run, right? So what dehumidifies? The answer is nothing. And this is exactly the issue I have with a lot of customers, especially this particular customer we're talking about. Her set point on her air conditioning system was 78 degrees. So even on the warmer days, her house feels pretty comfortable at 77, 78 to her. To me, it wouldn't. And the AC never turns on, right? And the humidity level is high. So if your AC is not running, you're not removing humidity. All right, Chris, but I like it 78 degrees, okay? Or I live in a climate it's never that hot. It's always 78 degrees or 76 degrees outside. It's pretty lukewarm, not really hot, and I don't really have a need for an air conditioner. Exactly. Well, if your air conditioner is not going to turn on, it's not working to dehumidify. So what you need is a dedicated dehumidifier. Now, a dehumidifier is a piece of equipment that is 100% dedicated to do that job only, irregardless of temperature. So your air conditioning system obviously works on a thermostat, and the only thing you really have to control there is the temperature, right? When it reaches your set point temperature, we're good, we're fine, irregardless of what's going on with the relative humidity. A dehumidifier now works the other way around. It doesn't care what temperature it is. It just works on a humidity set point. So it'll keep working until the humidity is the desired humidity you set on it. So it's dedicated to humidity only. And in my personal belief, you should have both systems in pretty much every house, especially a house that is pretty tight and doesn't have much infiltration. So the beautiful thing about a tight house is that now it's energy efficient. The bad thing about a tight house is now that every moisture source that we have inside that we create, again, showers, cooking, breathing, just being alive, right? It stays in the house. So what's going to remove it? And also a nice energy efficient house doesn't have much heat load a lot of times, so the air conditioning doesn't run. So you really need a dedicated dehumidifier to just take care of the humidity. It is highly recommended in pretty much every climate because your air conditioning system alone, you're leaving a lot to be desired in terms of counting on that alone to get rid of your humidity. The other thing you should be doing is also sealing your house if it's not sealed. And now when I mention the word insulation and sealing, people understand insulation, but quite often people get confused about what sealing is. So sealing is just filling every gap and crack and opening to ensure that there's no air coming into your house. This is pretty much what sealing is. It's just finding those little points of entry where hot, humid air enters outside. You want to do that, and that sometimes alone will do wonders for your humidity problem. All right, so your target that you want to have inside, again, it's probably realistically between 45 and 55% in the summertime, of course, house dependent. But the benefit to all of this, less mold, less mildew risk, better comfort, protects wood floor cabinets, and actually helps the AC do its job. Less humidity, the less strain actually on your air conditioning system. It often reduces runtime, related to your AC running as well. Here's a quick checklist for you. Run bath fans 20 to 30 minutes after showers. Have them on a timer switch, a motion switch, something of that sort, because almost everybody forgets. I'm not against full-time ventilation, but you have to size it appropriately too, because running too much ventilation could be a problem as well. Use range hood to the outdoors for cooking and boiling. So what I mean by that is there's lots of recirculating range hoods. They will do nothing for humidity. You have to have an actual duct penetrating outside. Fix whatever problems you have with gutters, downspouts, grating, water getting into your house. Air seal any big leaks, usually up in the attic and down in your crawl space. Keep your basement humidity low with perhaps a dedicated dehumidifier. You're going to aim for the house to be 45 to 55%. And of course, if your humidity is high, run the AC more, lower that temperature a little bit. And if that's not good enough because it becomes cold, well, you're going to need a dedicated dehumidifier. And you control your humidity, you're going to feel 100 times better than when your humidity is too high. It has super duper advantages. That's a real word, super duper. Has real advantages to your comfort. I immediately know when I step into a customer's home if they have a humidity problem or not. I feel it. I'm very sensitive to it. 72 degrees humid and 72 degrees not humid, there's a stark difference you feel. So aim for lower humidity. I hope you guys are learning something. I hope you're enjoying what I'm talking about here. I'm trying not to make it too drawn out, so I apologize. Sometimes the topic needs heavy coverage, but I would love for you to smash that like button, subscribe, and would just encourage me to do more topics like this. Thank you.